So Mary, you and I met, and you are really one of the reasons why I started doing a gratitude practice. So I come up with 3 gratitude things every morning. Can you explain for our audience why gratitude is so important?
So firstly, in such a fearful climate that we have right now, we cannot be in gratitude or be grateful and in fear at the same time.
Right.
But the main reason for us to do a gratitude practice every day is to fill ourselves up, fill our cup up, to make us feel and be the best version of ourselves to step out into the day. If we wake up and our default's here and the shit, because, you know, shit happens, the shit of the day hits us and we go down, down, down. So what we do with the gratitude practice is we fill ourselves up. So we start our day up here. So then if the shit of the day hits us, we may end up back here, but we don't end up here. We would never drive our car without petrol or gas. But we often jump out of bed and hit the ground running with a mediocre mood. And the gratitude practice is to remove that mediocre mood and make sure that we present to the day the best version of ourselves.
And for people who've never done a gratitude practice before, what would you say to them is like the best way to kick off and get started?
So the great question. The first 18 months for me was disastrous, absolutely disastrous. So success leaves clues. We know success leaves clues. If we look at Richard Branson, Tony Robbins, Oprah Winfrey, Brene Brown, Ellen DeGeneres, they all do gratitude practices. So if the most successful people in the world are doing gratitude practices, I figured that would work for me too.
Okay.
How I was taught to begin with, and each and every person needs to find their own way. It's not a one size fits all, because we all find different ways to be able to have that physiological change in the body. So when I began, it was a list. I am grateful for Derek. That's my husband. I'm grateful for Stephanie. I'm grateful for Adrian. I'm grateful for Claire. They were my kids. And I'll be even more grateful when this goddamn practice starts working. It was not for me that way. I was doing a practice. I was not being grateful. And for me, at that point in time, it was another thing to add to my chore list that was 100 miles long already. Now, for me, I open up my arms in my bed in the morning and I start with, I love my bed. I love my bed. I truly love my bed. Do you love your bed, Meggie?
I do. I love any time I get to sleep. So,
so my bed is there for me every day. It supports me. It makes me feel warm when I'm cold. I love it. Often when we get back from a holiday, I jump into bed at night and I say, I love you. And my husband says, I love you too. And I go, no, I'm talking to my bed. But that's how I start. And then I wiggle my fingers and I wiggle my toes. And I love that I can wiggle my fingers and wiggle my toes. I stretch my body and I can feel all the muscles inside my body. And I never used to be able to feel muscles inside my body because I didn't train before. Now that I've started training, I feel all the different muscles in my body. I love that. And then I'll get onto sticky things. I might get onto colours or rainbows or the sun on my back or rain on it. I don't know where I'm going to go. I let my mind go wherever it wants to go. And I think of all the things I love. And they're not necessarily big things like people think we're supposed to be grateful for. They're the dicky little things that are still going to be there. Fresh water, that are still going to be there when the shit hits the fan. One of my clients... One of my clients can't do it that way. So he spends 5 minutes with his dog in the morning. That gives him... What we're looking for is a physiological change in the body. So we're looking for you to feel a difference in your body from when you woke up to after you do whatever it is for you. Some people use music and some people use jazz. So you've got to find what it is for you. But what we're looking for is that physiological change in the body, a feeling of lightness. Yeah.
So when you started making me do it, I thought it was a bit woo-woo and I was like, oh, so annoying. But I started doing it and then you would like check in with me every week or every 2 weeks. And but it's really made a big difference for me. And so what I do And there's no right or wrong, I think.
No,
is that right?
Yeah, no right or wrong. Yeah.
Yeah, so I just come up with 3 things. I just lie in bed in the morning. It's the first thing I do before I look at my phone before I get out of bed. And I just like think about the 3 things. Like some people write it down. I actually don't write it down. It would be quite cool to write it down though, because then I'd have like a list of like 1,000 things after
And you
the
can
year.
look back and see what you used to be grateful for and how it's changed.
Yeah, maybe that'll be step 2, but I do highly recommend it. And at the moment, Mary, like a lot of people are kind of obviously scared. There's a lot of fear getting around. A lot of people are losing their jobs. There's a lot of tough things happening. So what are your kind of tips? Because some people might say, oh, well, gratitude's not going to get me a new job. Gratitude's not going to be able to like put food on the table for my kids. So what would you say to people who are kind of in a really tough spot right now? What are some great tips for them that might be helpful?
So part of the fear is, so we have this part in our brain called the reptilian brain. And that's our part of our brain that says fear. And so many people say to me, it'd be good if we didn't have that part in our brain, but we do need that part in our brain because we do not want to walk over a cliff and we do not want to jump in front of a truck. That would be ridiculous. So we need that fear part in our brain. But the downfall of the reptilian part of our brain is that it stops us. Anything it doesn't know the outcome of, it puts in the fear space. So right now, we're in a real space of unknown. Nobody knows how long things are going to go for. Nobody knows what's really going to happen. We are really in the unknown. So our reptilian brain stops us. Our reptilian brain has 2 functions. So, survival is its major function, but it has then 2 functions, breathing and eating. And while it's in survival mode, it is take care of me and only me. The brain and the body works together to survive. So we don't think of other people. We think of ourselves. And part of why people are going crazy about toilet paper and things like that is because they're trying to find something they can control, trying to find some certainty. And if they have enough, even if it's toilet paper, that gives them the ability to feel a bit more comfortable.
Feel safe.
The challenge with it right now is that while we're stuck in the reptilian brain and we don't move into the other areas of our brain to help us make decisions, it means that we cannot make informed, rational decisions. While we make the decisions all from our reptilian brain, they're irrational decisions that are only based on survival. So we can't access long-term view. How will that help us if we're trying to go for a job? Imagine showing up for a job and your face is fearful and your body is tense and you're freaking out and you're desperate to get a job. People smell fear. People smell fear. We are all noticing that there's a lot of fear and we can smell it. We can feel it. Whereas if you turn up to a job interview, I am grateful for the opportunity because this may be the place to take me to the next fantastic opportunity of my life. The energy of it is completely different. So it isn't woo-woo. It is about how we feel about ourselves. And I was talking to a photographer last week, and she's in a challenge at the moment because, of course, she can't go out and take the photography. So we're looking at how can businesses pivot right now. So I said to her, when you do a photo shoot, what is the essence of the photo shoot? What's your why? And she said, it's how I make people feel. I said, well, we've got a great opportunity for you to go out to your database right now, jump them on some Zoom calls and start helping them feel great to show up online. It's the same thing.
And so moving from that, I can completely hear what you say because I think it's similar to confidence. And I think that if you walk into a job interview feeling like you're not good enough and that you're not going to get the job, then I do feel that employers notice that. And we know physiologically through Amy Cuddy's work and others that the body does have the capacity to change the way people perceive you if you do things like power posing or like, I don't know if you can see on the Instagram live, but if you take powerful positions. And so equally, if people are wanting to move from fear into gratitude or into away from their reptilian brain, are there exercises they can do? Are there like tips that people can kind of put into practice?
Yeah. The one exercise that's really, really powerful is what we call box breathing. So box breathing is we breathe in for the count of 5, we hold for the count of 5, we breathe out for the count of 5, and we hold for the count of 5. And we do that 3 times over. How are you feeling right now, Meggie?
Not bad, but probably could be better. It's early in the morning where I am, so.
Feel your body and let's give it a go. Everybody who's with us, let's give it a go. Breathe in for 5. Hold for 5. Out for 5. Hold for 5. In for 5. Hold for 5. Out for 5. Hold for 5. Once more. In for 5. Hold for 5. Out for 5. Hold for 5. How do you feel in your body now?
I feel more zen. Like I feel like I literally almost lowered my heart rate a little bit. Do you know?
Yeah.
I feel a bit more calmer.
Calmer, at peace. Yeah. So that takes us straight out of our reptilian brain. That is an exercise to bypass our fear, our reptilian brain. At any time we can do that throughout the day when we're feeling fearful about anything. And you know, if people are feeling fearful about jobs at the moment, people are feeling fearful about money at the moment, people are feeling fearful about family safety at the moment. This is a fast way to be able to pull yourself out of that. And then you can make an informed decision using the parts of your brain that are long-term view and that actually can make better decisions.
Yeah, right. That's awesome. And what other things are you hearing from your clients that you're working with right now in terms of how they're approaching this stressful situation, how they're kind of viewing the coronavirus, whether they're trying to reframe it as an opportunity rather than focusing on the negatives? Or what are you observing from your community?
So most of my clients are jumping on. A number of my clients have doubled their sessions at the moment because they know that part of surviving and thriving in the current market is in the mindset. It's all in the mindset, how we show up, whether we see a challenge or whether we see an opportunity. So a lot of them have doubled their sessions. I am jumping on calls every single day at the moment with people very fearful at the start of the call. You can hear it in the wavering in their voice. You can hear it in the heaviness in them. And by the time we jump off the call, 45 to 50 minutes later, they're lighter. And we also start to reframe how they're talking about things. So if they're talking about the negative spaces or the negative things that are showing up, we reframe them like we did with the photographer. She was, you know, I can't see anyone face to face, but she can still go out to her database and start coaching them how to feel great to jump on these sorts of things. And it's not about the makeup and the hair. It's really about the internal feeling, because you can even feel if somebody's in fear or if somebody's in a great mood on a platform like this. The other thing that I'm talking about with nearly everyone at the moment is reframing the opportunities. So she's got a huge database, the photographer, and a lot of her database are shots for a dating platform. And so I said to her, we've got to pivot in this time and we've got to stay visible and we've got to stay relevant. I said, so why don't you run a Zoom get together for all your people that have had the single shots? Right now, they can't go out and
dating in the time of Corona, Mary.
So we've got to look outside the square. We've got to look. We cannot do business like we've always done business. For me personally, I'm loving this because I do a lot of breakfast meetings, a lot of lunch meetings, some dinner meetings. As my daughter says, you know, Mum, you go to breakfast, lunch and dinner and you talk a lot of crap all day. That's what she describes what I do. Right now, I can't go to the breakfast, the lunches or the dinners. So the driving time for me has disappeared. A mortgage broker I was talking to the other day, and he said that after 4 o'clock in the afternoon, he did 4 customer sign-ons, all the paperwork. He did it on Zoom, went through all the paperwork and got the paperwork signed off to be submitted to the bank. He never could have done that before if he was doing face-to-faces. He only would have been able to do 1 a night. So there's a lot of revolutionizing with this digital age that will come and that is here. And a lot of businesses won't go all the way back. There will be a new normal.
Awesome. So we've got a little bit more time for everyone on Instagram Live. Jump onto our bio if you want an invite to join the Zoom call. We have to wrap it up here for Instagram, but we're going to continue chatting on Zoom. So goodbye to our Instagram followers, and I'll be right back with you to our Zoom community. Thanks for joining us, Mary.
Thanks.
Okay, so Zoomers, we're going to hang on here. Mary, you've got a resource that you wanted to do a screen share with. Is that right? Do you want to talk us through that for everyone on the call? And if anyone has any questions for Mary, feel free to jump into the comments section and you can ask Mary some questions there. So if you just click share screen, I think that should come up. There we go. So do you want to talk us through this, Mary?
So if you're grateful, you are not fearful. Should I stick it on like this? Is that better?
There we go. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, so if you're fearful, you can't be grateful. And we want to turn up every day being the best person, the best version of ourselves that we are. And the model that this talks about is the above the line and below the line model. It's about how much responsibility we take for what's happening in our world right now versus how much responsibility we blame on other people. When we blame the external world or a person or a situation for how we're feeling right now, we take no responsibility and we cannot shift it or change it. The minute we take 100% responsibility, then now we have an option to make it mean something different and to be able to change it. And a great example of this is about maybe 4 weeks ago now, my husband reversed my brand new Mercedes into a car out in the car park. So he reversed out of the car space and a car going past, he hit. So he beat himself up the whole night after it happened, and there was barely any damage. I instantly went into gratefulness. I was grateful that there was barely any damage. It will buff out. I was grateful I don't have to go through insurance at all. I was grateful that the guy that he hit said, all good, barely a scratch, shook hands, and we're on their way. So I instantly went into my gratitude practice. But Derek beat himself up. He beat himself up that Sunday night. Monday, he came home. He's been at the company he's been working for nearly 25 years. He came home on the Monday night and he said, I had the worst day at work in my whole entire life. I know that was because he was still beating himself up for what happened. And the crazy thing about it was he was trying to blame the other guy. He was saying the other guy was driving too fast through the car park. Regardless of who's driving too fast through the car park, if you're the one reversing, you're the one at fault. So while he sat trying to blame the other guy for what happened, it kept taking up a huge chunk in his brain and ruining his whole time. It took him about a week and a half until he laughed, and then he said, I reversed out of the car park. It was totally my fault. And then everything eased away and he was back to his normal, happy, jovial self. So our thinking takes us in and out of this space. And another example of it is we were driving out of our driveway. This is maybe even somewhere like 12 to 18 months ago. And we're at the front of our driveway looking across the road, and the people across the road put a camera on the front of their house. And so I can either be the one above the line or below the line, or Derek can be the one above the line, below the line. We will all spend time in each, and that's normal. It's just about how much time we choose to spend below the line. So I looked at the camera and I've done a complete freak out. Oh my God, is that a camera? Does that take the front of our house? Is that an invasion of our privacy? Can that see into our bedroom? I was like freaking out. Derek saw exactly the same innate object and he's like, yeah, it is a camera. it probably does take the front of our house. And now our cars will be protected out the front. You know, we have 6 people living in this house, 6 cars, and 4 of them are across the front lawn every night. Anyway, I didn't think I was ever going to be able to change my perspective about that camera. And within a week, my son's car got broken into out the front of the house. And what did I do? Straight across the road to get the footage of what happened. And now I am absolutely grateful for that camera being there. And you know what? If they can see into my bedroom, lucky them.
So what I'm hearing is that it's about reframing the way that you're viewing things. Is that kind of how you describe it?
Yeah, absolutely reframing how we're doing things. Yes, yes. So every time it's the perspective. So if you follow the works of Brené Brown, she talks about human beings being meaning-making machines. That's what we are, meaning-making machines. And often what comes up first into our mind is, she calls it a shitty first draft. If we go back to high school or university and writing an essay, we've written the first draft of the essay and then we rewrite and go through it. And usually the end copy is nothing like the first copy. So if
it's much better typically, right?
Yeah, typically much better, yes. If we think about it like that, what comes up is our shitty first draft. It's based on our defaults from our life and it's based on the patterns in our thinking. And if it's not helping us in any way to move forward, we need to change that. So my shitty first draft about the camera was that it was an invasion of privacy. My reframe was then that it's a great protection tool. So we can change everything. And either way, you know, people say, but I want to know which one's right. There is no right. There's just lots and lots and lots of different ways. So if the way you're thinking about something is not making you feel good, change the shitty story and find a way to think about something that does make you feel good. And often you need to have assistance like people like you, Meggie, and people like me to help you be able to see a different perspective. Or for me, with the car, it was an incident that helped me see a different perspective.
Yeah, I love that. Just before we wrap up, if anyone has any final questions, feel free to put them in the chat box to me and we can ask Mary. But Mary, if people want to keep in touch with you, what's the best way for them to reach out or just kind of follow the work that you're doing?
So they can join me on LinkedIn as Mary Jensen. I'm also on Facebook. My business is on Instagram. I'm about to jump on a new platform because we're pivoting right now called TikTok. So I'll be on TikTok by the end of the day and pump some videos up there. My Facebook page, my business page is Empower Services. And I also have a personal page on Facebook, and I would love everybody to connect because at the moment I'm going to be pumping out every day things to help us feel better in the current environment.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, we're so grateful for your help, Mary. Thank you for joining us on the Daily Power Pep Talk. And also, I hope that everyone who doesn't already have a gratitude practice can take on board some of those initial tips that you said of talking about 3 grateful things or having a few minutes every morning to dance or play with the dog or something that will physically make you smile, make you happy and make you feel grateful so you can step into the day through that positive frame of mind.
Remembering that success leaves clues. If we want to be successful, we need to follow the practices of the really successful people.
And so you mentioned Richard Branson, Oprah, people like that all do a gratitude practice?
Yes.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much to everyone for joining us. I'm really grateful. You can follow Mary on Instagram, Empowered Services, and she's also on LinkedIn and Facebook. If you have any feedback, you can let us know at PepTalkHer on Instagram. You can message me on LinkedIn, Meggie Palmer, or drop us an email, hello@peptalkher.com. And we're excited for tomorrow's Daily Power Pep Talk with actually someone who Mary knows, Lauren Chalin. So she's going to be talking about abundance. So really
I'll be back tomorrow.
Yeah, same time tomorrow, but with Lauren and not Mary this time. So Lauren is one of Mary's proteges. So I'm sure it'll be a great session as well, but we're really grateful to all of you for joining us. Thanks. Have an awesome day. Thanks. Bye.
Bye.